I used to be the kind of person who would blame my external circumstances for not achieving my goals until I realized that what is actually creating the gap between me and my goals are my actions, the actions that I'm taking or the actions that I'm not taking. So today we're going to be talking about the things that I learned from my own lives that have been preventing me from actually achieving my goals and keeping me stuck in the same place for months. Hi, my name is Charlotte. If you're new here, welcome. So let's get right into it. The first reason as to why you're not achieving your goals is laziness. Listen, laziness can often be mistaken for rest, but I think you need to be able to distinguish between the two, because resting comes after working. Okay, resting comes after working. So if you're working up resting and then you spend the whole day resting, that is laziness. So if you find yourself always chilling 75% of the time, then you are being lazy. I'm sorry to say that, because resting is meant to be 25% and 75% is meant to be work. But if it's the other way around, that is probably why you are not achieving your goals. The second thing is procrastination. This one will keep you stuck for a very, very long time. I used to be a person that procrastinates, that delays tasks, that wants to do tasks later, but if you're able to do something at that very moment, you do not have to put it up for later, especially if you're not occupied in the very moment. I used to be the type of person to, like, let's say I have a task. I'll say, oh, I'll do this tomorrow. That happens with school assignments, or that happens with going to the gym. I just find myself saying, okay, I'm going to do this later. I'm gonna do this tomorrow. But if you're such a person, you would find that most times when you say, I'm gonna do this tomorrow, you might not actually do it, and that keeps you stuck for a very long time. Let's say you want to go to the gym or you want to sign up for a gym membership and you do not do that, you will be stuck for a very, very long time. The third thing that is creating a gap between you and your goals is poor time management. This one is very important and it relates to the fourth point that I'm going to talk about. Time management is a very important skill that I feel everyone needs to have, because you're allocating tasks to a certain time. It doesn't have to be too rigid where you feel like your day is kind of running on a schedule. If you're the type of person to like want to have a casual routine, it can feel like your days are now rigid and more routine. But if you're a person who likes structure, it is very advisable for you to put timestamps on your to-dos, to say, okay, let's say you want to have 3 tasks done today. That is your assignment, the gym, and something else. Putting timestamps on it helps. Like for example, you say by 9 to 12 I should have gone to the gym, so you know at that time you need to be acting towards that to do. By this time to this time I should be doing this, rather than when you just go through life and you just freestyle. You might find that you are putting into your schedule things that do not really matter at that moment, and you are not able to do the things that are important. So the goal for this is that you have time for the things that actually matter first, and any leftover time you give it to the things that do not really matter in that moment. So the point that I mentioned earlier that relates to this is allocation of energy. I feel that every person, each individual has the same amount of energy, and if you're not able to allocate your energy to the things that matter first, for example, right, I used to be a person that wakes up and I'm on my phone and I'm scrolling. That is energy that you are putting into that place. When it actually now comes time for you to do the things that matter, maybe doing your assignment, going to the gym, reading the word, reading your Bible, praying, or other things that actually matter in your own life, you will not have time, you will not have energy for those things, because you've already put your energy in the wrong place. Focus is very important. When you give most of your energy, most of your freshness to the things that matter, when you give your energy according to order of priority, when it comes to the things that do not really need much I mean, you don't really need much energy for scrolling. So why do you have to scroll first thing in the morning? If you have things to do, you can have, of course, entertainment, refreshing time later on in the day when you're done with the things that matter, and then you start to scroll. So that leads me to the next point. The reason why you are not achieving your goals is because of distraction. Doom scrolling has become the end of many. Doom scrolling, and I say this because I used to doom scroll. I say this because I doom scroll sometimes, but I always catch myself in the act to say, hey, why am I doom scrolling first thing in the morning? Because this is common for many people. You wake up, you haven't even put your feet on the ground, you are just grabbing your phone, going on TikTok, scrolling on IG. To be honest, you just fry your brain, you just distract your brain, you disturb your system. And I don't know if it works for other people. Maybe other people are wired to say if you wake up, you scroll for 5 hours, after that you have a lot of energy. But for me and for other people I've heard about, once they scroll for hours in the morning, they do not have the motivation for anything else. When you have already like given most of your time to something that takes your energy, you no longer have energy. So distractions, we also have like notifications. If you do have, of course, notifications that matter, you just like give them priority. I have found that when I'm doing assignments or when I'm trying to draft something, notifications disturb me, and once I answer that message, the time that gets me to focus again, it will be a few minutes before that. So when you are having distractions and disturbances, it's not just the time you are taking to attend to that distraction. The time that it takes for you to focus back on the thing that you were doing is actually also a fair amount of time. So you need to make sure that you're letting away all distractions until you're done with a certain task that you want to do. The other thing that is making you to plan your goals and say, oh, this year I want to do this and that, is lack of motivation and drive. And this happened to me, it happens to me sometimes, where I just feel like there's this thing that I want to do, but I just do not have the motivation for it and the drive for it. I feel like you need to have a reason for what you're doing, and you need to have a goal that is defined for you to be able to, like, I can give an example, right? For me, in the gym, I do know that I want to lose maybe 1 or 2 kgs by a certain time. I told myself I want to lose 2 kgs in 2 months. I know that's a bit of a like subtle goal, but like anytime I feel like I don't want to go to the gym, I think of that. I'm like, okay, I told myself that I want to lose this amount of weight by this time, so I have to buckle down and go to the gym. um Wanting to get distinctions in school, I mean, like wanting to pass, get distinctions. When you're studying, you're like, and you don't want to study, you're like, okay, I actually want to get a distinct. Like having a reason for a goal, not just having goals, having a reason for it. Okay, you want to go to the gym, but why are you going to the gym? Are you going to the gym because everybody says it's productive to go to the gym? That is a weak reason to go to the gym. Have strong reasons as to why you want to do something, and whenever you are slacking, those reasons will give you the motivation and the drive. But also, to add on to motivation, you need to have discipline, because motivation is like a very short-term thing. You can have the motivation to go to the gym. Once you get there, what is going to keep you going is discipline. Last but not least, what is creating a gap between you and your success is the environment. At the beginning of the video, I said you blame on external circumstances. Yes, most of this has to do with what you're doing, the action that you're taking. But at the end of the day, by environment, I mean having a support system. You could be having people around you who you tell, like, oh, I want to do this. By the way, if you have your goals, you do not need to be telling people that this is what I want to do. Some people don't believe you can do it. Some people simply don't have big dreams, and they'll just bring you down to like the point where you do not have the motivation to achieve your goals anymore. So by environment, I mean having a strong support system, people that believe in you, people that support your dreams, your goals and your ideas, that support you and give you ideas that tell you to keep going. and also like hanging around people that have the same goals as you, that have the same vision as you, so that you guys will empower each other on that goal and keep each other going. So these are the points that I have personally seen in my own life, that these things were stopping me from achieving your goals. So now, how do you actually achieve your goals? Remove all of these things and start moving with discipline. And we are in August. We are in August, and you would see that towards the end of the year, as the year is, we are in the last quarter of the year, September, October, November, we're in the last half of the year, and you would find yourself moving towards your goal. And lastly, I would like to say that there is no set, don't follow societal standards of production, like the whole wake up at 5 a.m., do this and that. You know yourself, you know your routine, you know your lifestyle. Customize everything to you and know the level that you can reach. That is why I say I know when I'm being lazy, and I do not want to settle for that. You know when you're being lazy, you know when you're in a certain point of your life. So customize everything to your own life, and make sure that you are just living your best life and doing the best you can. It doesn't have to look like what social media says this is the level of success. That is why I did not define success for you. You know yourself, you know the things that are taking you back from that, you know the things that make you feel good. You know yourself that maybe scrolling for 5 hours doesn't make you feel good, but it has become a reflex action for you. So nobody really has to tell you that. You define that for yourself. Okay, so we have come to the end of this video, and I wish you the best in achieving your goals, wishing you success and everything. I'll see you next time. Bye.